Have you ever stopped to think about how we went from those giant, clunky car phones to streaming 4K movies pretty much anywhere? It's an incredible story. And today, we're going to climb that ladder of mobile evolution 1G at a time.
So, let's just dive right in with a super simple question. We hear the term 5G thrown around constantly, but what does that G actually stand for? It's that simple: generation. And honestly, this is the key to the entire story we're telling today. See, each new generation wasn't just a random upgrade. It was a specific, targeted solution to the single biggest headache of the generation that came before it. Think of it like a problem-solution ladder, and we're about to start climbing from the very first rung.
So our climb begins at the very, very beginning, with this revolutionary quest for one thing: freedom from wires. Before the 1980s, if you wanted to talk to someone, you were literally tied to a wall by a cord. The first generation, 1G, was nothing short of a miracle. It finally cut that cord. It used analog radio signals to let us make voice calls on the go for the first time ever. It must have felt like absolute magic.
But, and this is a big but, that magic came with some serious problems. Because it was analog, the voice quality was often horrible, just full of static and interference. The phones, they were gigantic bricks. The batteries were a joke. And get this, there was zero security. Anybody with a simple radio scanner could just listen in on your calls. Plus, you couldn't roam. It was an amazing first step, but man, was it flawed.
And all those flaws bring us to the second generation and what was probably the single biggest shift in the history of mobile: the digital leap. This right here is the perfect example of that problem-solution ladder. The problem with 1G was those noisy, totally insecure analog signals. The solution? It was brilliant. Go digital. This one change allowed our voices to be compressed, clarified, and, maybe most importantly, encrypted. So here's a quick breakdown of what that actually means. An analog signal, it's a continuous wave, kind of like the sound waves of our voice. It's really easy for noise to mess with it. A digital signal, though, converts that wave into a series of ones and zeros. It's just way more robust, it's secure, and it's so much more efficient. This one change basically fixed almost everything that was wrong with 1G.
So in the 90s, with 2G, we finally got clear, encrypted phone calls and international roaming. But the killer app, the thing that changed society in a way nobody saw coming, SMS. The simple text message was born, and it created a whole new culture of communication. Now, data was technically possible, but at 64 kilobits per second, it was only enough for, a few lines of text. The internet was still way out of reach.
And of course, that created the very next problem that needed solving: this massive, overwhelming need for real usable data.
You see, 2G was built for voice, and it was fantastic for that. But its data capabilities were kind of an afterthought. The world was moving online, and we all wanted to take the internet with us. 3G was the answer. It was designed from the ground up to bring the mobile web right into the palm of our hands.
Now, to understand how 3G pulled this off, we need to talk about bandwidth. The absolute best way to think about it is like a highway. A narrow little country lane can only handle a few cars at a time, right? But a massive 8-lane superhighway can handle a ton of traffic. Higher bandwidth is that wider highway. It lets way more data flow at once.
Okay, and this table clears up a super common point of confusion. Bandwidth is the potential. It's how wide the highway is. Data rate is the actual speed of the cars on that highway. You could have a massive highway, but if all the cars are stuck in traffic, your data rate is still low. 3G was all about dramatically increasing both. So what did that bigger, faster highway unlock for us? Oh man, so much. 3G gave us our first real video calls. It gave us mobile app stores and the ability to actually browse websites on our phones. We could finally send pictures with MMS and even stream TV. The whole smartphone era, fueled by the first versions of mobile social media, was really built on the foundation that 3G laid down.
All right, so let's do a quick recap. In the 80s, 1G gave us analog voice. The 90s, 2G gave us clean digital voice and SMS. The 2000s, that was 3G, delivering mobile data. And that brings us to the 2010s and the next big need: true mobile broadband. Because while 3G was amazing, let's be real, it wasn't always fast. We wanted broadband speeds, but we wanted them in our pockets. Here we go, the next step on our ladder. The problem with 3G, it often felt slow. You know that feeling, right? Videos would buffer forever, online games would lag. It was frustrating. The solution was 4G, which was all about delivering an experience that was just as smooth and fast as your internet connection at home.
And what a jump it was. I mean, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around the scale here. While 3G speeds were measured in kilobits or maybe a few megabits per second, 4G offered a theoretical peak speed of up to 1 gigabit per second. That's not just a little faster, that's potentially 1,000 times faster. This was a monumental leap that enabled high-definition everything.
So how on earth did they do this? Well, the secret was smarter traffic control. 4G used these really advanced technologies like MIMO and OFDM. The best way to think of them is like sophisticated air traffic controllers for our data, managing all the signals way more efficiently to cut down on congestion and boost speed for everybody. This is what made smooth HD Netflix streaming and real-time multiplayer gaming on our phones a normal, everyday reality.
And that brings us to today, and to 5G. But here's the thing you have to understand. 5G isn't just about making your phone faster. It's about connecting our entire world. This slide really gets to the heart of the shift in purpose. 4G was fantastic, but it was optimized for us, for people downloading things and talking to each other. 5G is solving a completely new problem. How do we connect not just billions of people, but tens of billions of things? We're talking about a future of smart cars, smart cities, and a massive Internet of Things.
Sure, 5G promises insane speeds, up to 10 gigabits per second, but what's actually more important is its ultra-low latency. Latency is the delay in the network. By getting that delay down to almost zero, you enable real-time control of things like autonomous cars or even remote surgery. It also has the massive capacity needed to handle all those billions of new devices.
So with each generation getting exponentially faster and faster, it kind of begs the question, right? Does this just go on forever? Or is there a limit? Well, the answer is yes. There is an ultimate speed limit.
It's a fundamental law of physics called Shannon's limit. It defines the absolute maximum rate you can send data through any channel, wired or wireless, without errors. And it all boils down to just two things: bandwidth, which is the width of your highway, and the signal-to-noise ratio, which is basically how clear your signal is compared to all the background static.
Here's the wild part. Every single generation of mobile technology we've talked about has just been a story of brilliant engineers finding cleverer and cleverer ways to get us closer and closer to this theoretical limit. 5G is the closest we have ever been. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. What happens when we finally hit that wall? What does 6G even look like when we can no longer just make the highway wider?